25 years ago, almost to the day, You've Got Mail was released. I recently rewatched it because I wanted Tom Hanks waxing poetic about school supplies and Meg Ryan carrying a pumpkin through the streets of New York. But this familiar favorite actually struck me in a really new way. I'd always seen the movie as a love letter to fall into New York, and it is, but this time it felt like a love letter to the magic of the small shop. And now, 25 years later, it also acts as a kind of memorial as we look back over 2.5 decades at what we've quietly lost. I was surprised to find myself thinking about work and worth and what we value as society. Well, maybe not that surprised. I think about these things a lot. But there were two really big things that stood out to me differently this time. The first thing that really struck me was how elegant the commentary is on big corporate, big capitalism, and how the push for discounts, speed, and convenience can really obliterate personality. And maybe it's just that I've come to care really greatly about these things in the last 10 years, so it's not that the film has changed, it's that I've changed. But there were so many little lines that really stood out. When the big box bookstores announced in their neighborhood, "It has nothing to do with us. It's big, impersonal, overstocked, and full of ignorant salespeople. But they discount." Or when Frank is trying to cheer up Kathleen, "You're a lone reed, standing tall, waving boldly in the corrupt sands of commerce." And lastly, when they're rallying to save their little store, "Do we want the West Side to become one big, gigantic strip mall? Do you want to get off the subway at 72nd and Broadway and not even know you're in New York City?" And of course, she's right. How similar are our cities now? Full of the same stores and the same restaurants. And this really sent me down memory lane. I moved from a small town to a big city for college. And there were all of these new things that I'd never experienced before, one of which was the fast casual restaurant chains like Chipotle and Jimmy John's. And honestly, as a college kid, I thought they were pretty great. So on the heels of graduation, when the first Jimmy John's opened in my hometown, I saw nothing wrong with new options being available in more places. And in my early 20s, I missed what was really happening. I actually had a favorite local sandwich shop, Cobby's. There were just a couple locations, all in quirky buildings. They made these big classic deli sandwiches. They gave away free chips and fruit. They had clam chowder Fridays. No drive-through, no promise of freaky fast, just crazy good. But within 10 years, their locations were dwindled down to one. And I really only see it in retrospect. Jimmy John's was Fox Books, and Cobby's was the shop around the corner. And without realizing it, I played a part in the disappearance of something that I actually preferred and ultimately really took for granted. And that brings me to the second thing that really struck me this time. You've Got Mail is a rom-com. We don't think about it as a movie about work, which is perhaps why I was a little bit delighted at how insightful and anti-establishment this script really is when you look close. At a dinner party after Kathleen finds out that Joe is in fact her big box competitor, he surprises her by guessing her annual sales figures, to which he smugly replies, "I'm in the book business." And she corrects him, "No, I am in the book business." And I love this distinction. Here's what I read into this line. Being in business is about more than numbers. To him, it didn't matter what he was selling. It was a discount business model that happened to deal in books. But for her, it was really about the books and the role she was able to play in people's lives through books. Which brings us to my favorite quote, which comes at a point after she closes the store, nearly at the end of the film. And after Joe says to her, rather matter-of-factly, "It wasn't personal." What is that supposed to mean? I'm so sick of that. All that means is it wasn't personal to you, but it was personal to me. It's personal to a lot of people. And what is so wrong with being personal anyway? Because whatever else anything is, it ought to begin by being personal. I feel like I should watercolor this and hang it on the wall. It's such a stark contrast to so much of what I was told about business, and I want this reminder in my life. If nothing else, this film is both a darling watch and a small business masterclass. Like, do you want to add charm and personality to your business? Use You've Got Mail to get the brainstorm started. And I think we all want a shop around the corner in our lives. We want things to be more friendly and intentional. And this film is also just a really lovely reminder to be more personal. And in a world run more and more by algorithms and AI, I believe it's those that can create that sense of community, that personality, that are going to increasingly stand out. And I want to leave you with one more line from the film. I started helping my mother after school here when I was 6 years old, and I used to watch her. And it wasn't just that she was selling books, it's that she was helping people become whoever it was that they were going to turn out to be. I know I'm not alone in wanting more of this in my life. When was the last time you even had an experience like this? Maybe just pay attention this week. When you go out for a meal or run through the grocery store or do some holiday shopping, who's helping you? Who's making your food? How do they feel about their job? Do you even like the experience? I've started asking myself these sorts of questions and realized that I really don't like shopping this way, like at all. I don't like how generally unhappy the employees seem. I want to retrain myself to value slower. Maybe be willing to drive a few extra minutes or visit 2 shops instead of 1. And no change happens overnight, but this year I'm making a point of picking up a few gifts from small shops, and maybe you do the same, because our baby steps matter.